individuals that are affected by bullying, as well as working with adults and families to make sure we overcome the problem, make them aware, and bring attention to the need to address bullying before it becomes more of an issue. Because there is a direct connection to bullying, between bullying and youth violence. So let me introduce my panel, or let them introduce themselves. Dr. Angela Smith. She is our just wonderful, wonderful addition to our board of directors this year. And Angela, tell us about yourself.
I'm Angela Smith, and during the day, I put people to sleep in surgery, but I write, and most of my books are about things that impact women, girls in the community, like childhood abuse. Human trafficking is one of my big topics that I talk about, and I have a movie based on my second book that's premiering in January. It's called Dana Story. And I think there's a link between bullying, low self-esteem, poor self-worth, and all that stuff. It kind of joins together. And the girls who get caught up in this stuff is sometimes bullied into it, but it's all kind of tied together. So.
All right, thank you, Angela. All right, Dr. Smith. Then we have Miss Karletha Gundy, and she is also, she got her letter just a little bit late, but she is also one of our new additions to the Stop the Madness Anti-Bullying Foundation Board of Directors.
I'm Karletha Gundy. I'm the co-founder of the Honest Voice Foundation, and I'm also the creator of Push Through Coaching, which is I'm a yoga instructor, and I teach mindfulness to kids and adults. So yeah.
And thank you, Karletha. And then we have Brother Abdul Chappell. Did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
My name is Abdul Chappell. I'm an ex-founder of Westside Crips of Fort Worth, founder of the Good Better Hood Foundation and Continental Community Solutions, and very proud director of the Fort Worth branch of Urban Specialists. So you know that low self-esteem and complexes and identity crisis, they have a great deal to do with things that take place and push our brothers and sisters into getting going.
Thank you, Brother Abdul. Now we have Mr. Antong.
How y'all doing? I'm Antong. I'm a master educator trainer for the Urban Specialist Program, formerly Legal Regeneration. We did gang intervention prevention back at the juvenile department. Started back in 2000. I went to this training form to the Urban Specialist.
And we are very honored to be graced by best-selling author Keith Thomas Walker today. Keith?
Hi, my name is Keith Thomas Walker. As she said, I'm an author. I usually started out with romance novels and suspense, but recently I started a young adult series, the Family Hot series, and in those books I tackle subjects that our youth are going through: teen pregnancy, promiscuity, peer pressure. My most recent Family Hot book is Bullying and Family Hot, so I tackle the subject of bullying. Glad to be here. It's my first time on the panel, just specifically for bullying, so I'm kind of interested in this.
All right. Excellent. So, it's a conversation. The panelists are going to get a fact, and they're going to respond, and then please feel free to raise your hand and add to it or ask a question. We are here to gather information and to work as a community to stop the madness of bullying. So, last one to go, first one to answer. Keith, did you know over 3.2 million students are victims of bullying every year?
I knew it was around that every year. I was growing up, I was a victim of it myself, and a lot of my friends were. So I've experienced it. I've seen it. My daughter's in high school now, and she's going through it. My son too. So I knew it was a big number. I didn't know that exactly.
So let me ask you another question on top of that. Did you know that it's actually the female that is more into the training, as well as a few others in the audience as well. So, Anton, tell me, how did you feel when you were going through the training and all the information that we were pushing into you over 4 hours?
First of all, I enjoyed that training, but it was very informative as I listened to what bullying was and a lot of the information that you provided. I realized that I was a bully at one point in time, and so a lot of unknown, but and a lot of the stuff that you taught us in that course applied to me. You know what I'm saying? So it gave me an opportunity to look back at some stuff that I did in my childhood, my teenage years, that by definition I was a bully. You know, and so it was good information, good information. It made me feel kind of bad that I was a bully. That's how it made me feel.
Abdul?
Yeah, I was very enlightened by the class, and because we often get a perception in our mind that bullying is just the bigger individual and kind of tower over the smaller caliber of a little person. But you know, I was shocked to find out how psychologically how it impacted words and just how slighting people and being I don't want to say disconcerting, but talking kind of condescending amongst people. It becomes a norm with us, especially in our culture, just how we talk to certain people. And we really don't see sometimes that that's an act of bullying. So yeah, I was, you know, it didn't like me good.
All right. So, Karletha, I'm going to give you another question. How did you feel knowing that that females are more likely to bully than males?
I wasn't shocked at all, mainly because I guess females tend to be more emotional and more competitive with each other, and so I wasn't shocked at all. It was very, it was kind of something I already knew.
Angela?
I'm not surprised either about girls. Girls can be vicious. We're the runner species, we go to the food. So I think that animal instinct kind of plays into females being more oriented. So I wouldn't know.
Okay. So, let's take it into the schoolyard, shall we? All right. Better yet, let's take it into the hallways of the school. So, I deal with the anti-bullying training is actually for adults. It is a training that directs an adult to intervention and preventionary measures, as well as it educates them on all 5 aspects of bullying, which is verbal, emotional, physical, psychological, and social, which has become the biggest platform for bullying in the past 2 years. So, schools are very specific on their bullying policy, most of them anyway, because zero tolerance doesn't work anymore. We can say we have zero tolerance, but that only encourages retaliation from those around the bully. Then we have the actual bullying definition that's given to us by the federal government, and we have to stay with it. So the definition of bullying actually changed 2 years ago because there were so many reports of bullying. So they had to change it in order so that they could target and ensure that it was more specific to what was going on in school. It had to be a repeated offense. It was no longer, she is knocking me down in the hallway, she knocked me out in the hallway today, she knocked out my books, they fell in the mud, she bullied me. No, it's a repeated offense. It has to be done more than once and the minimum of twice for it to be addressed. Fully addressed. It can be investigated after the first instance, but it's only going to go so far because it has to be a repeated offense. It cannot be called bullying, it might be called an altercation or a conflict. So, let's look at some of the statistics that came from stopbullying.gov. That's where we go and get our information, as well as we work with Facebook.org. So, panel, yes. 1 in 4 teachers see nothing wrong with bullying and only intervene 4% of the time. Who's first? Who wants to address that? Go ahead.
I think, first of all, I think bullying is one of the single most important issue that our kids face in this time. And I think us as parents teachers, as administrators, it's hard for us to intervene to see bullying because we come from a certain idea in our own upbringing in terms of if we're young men, we're taught to be tough, we're taught to be hard, and you know, we can't be scared. Let me give you an example. I went to my cousin's son's school the other day, and they had him in the office. And his dad's in prison, so I can't step in play that role. And so when I get there, I talk to him, and I ask him what happened, you know, what's my year in the office? He said a little girl was kept pushing me, kept hitting me. And so I said, what did you do? He said, I went and told the teacher. I said, what did the teacher say? He said that the teacher told him that if you keep on acting like a tattletale, you ain't gonna be able to come back outside for rape.
Wow.
And so so the girl kept pushing him till he hit the girl, and they took him to the office. And so when we talked to the principal, when I talked to the principal and explained what happened, of course the principal let him go back to class. But I'm just saying, in that example right there, us as adults, the way we was raised, kind of played a big part in us not being able to discipline or even intervene on bullying.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of training do you do to recognize?
Not teachers have, any teachers in audience? Administrators? In audience? Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna just give a statistic and I hope it's the newest one. So teachers have to undergo a certain amount of continuing education units for bullying every year. It's required by the TES. So the last time I checked, they had to do 9 hours of continuing education units. That may be a different number now, but that was the number I checked when the supplements first started. So the majority of the training is actually online. So they can click through the training and just get to the end and answer questions to pass so that they can get their credit for it. So they may not pay attention to the actual information that's in the training. But our training, as y'all heard me say, but as our training is very interactive and comprehensive, I'm like right there. The trainer is right there, and you have a book, and you're going through each page as a group, as a team. Edward, how did you feel going through the training back there?
I enjoyed it. It's good. It also creates our incentives.
Yes, and we'll get to those in a moment from the table. But it does, because I want to make sure that the training is interactive and you also are able to absorb the information. Now, let's go with an age statistic. By age 14, less than 30% of boys and 40% of girls will talk to their peers about bullying. Who wants?
It's less than 30% at the age of 14.
At the age of 14, they don't even talk to their friends. In a positive way or a negative way. They just won't talk to them.
Well, bullying right now in young adults, and my son is here, he's 10. It's kind of like something that is frowned upon with the kids. If you snitch, you're a snitch. If somebody's doing something to you, you're supposed to be tough enough to handle it, or you have some kind of payback, or you're considered a snitch. You're isolated by your peers, you're teased. So 14, at 14 you're in what, middle school? So by that time, you've already established a belief system that, you know, it is what it is. It's not really defined as bullying, tough enough, you know. So I think that plays a big part in it.
The message in society is that if you don't have the material, you don't have the course. And so when we come from backgrounds where impoverished conditions, economic or socioeconomic problems, I think a lot of times that rites of passage that couples along with being hard and gangs and things and such, as you know, you were speaking about a minute ago. This is why I'm so glad that this program is more focused on adults Because the majority of us we're still adolescent minded just because we're 6 feet tall and 230 something pounds. That doesn't necessarily mean that we've grown up psychologically or spiritually. And so a lot of times we brush off things like I was telling you about that sister, that unique issue with her. She was raised in a Klansman family, okay? And as she grew out of her understanding of racism, her daughter now goes to school with pretty much primarily all black children. And so when the Trump issue, regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on with Trump, the kids were vicious at school. You know, you had a lot of Hispanic, Latino children didn't go to school, period, because they feared that their parents were going to be gone when they came home.
Right.
And then you had children in classrooms talking about, build a wall, build a wall, build a wall to these kids. And, you know, as adults, because then in her situation, like I said, she was raised as a Klansman, and I thought it was kind of ironic that she called me about the issue with her daughter being the minority now. And so the black kids and other kids are kind of taunting her. The principal has no clue what to do because she herself is still shocked that Trump won. So she don't really know how to deal with the adult situations, let alone what's going on down at the children's level. And so her advice to the mother was, well, you know, maybe you should find a school that has more white children in it. You know, and I was like, oh, the principal shouldn't have said that. Yeah, we should. But you know, I had an opportunity to talk to her, but I think that it's absolutely imperative that we as adults, man, sometimes we have to unlearn a lot of what we've learned in order to relearn things that are, you know, better for us. So I'm glad that this program is targeted at adults.
Did you have anything?
Yes, I wanted to ask a question. With the program and understanding what the parents are saying, is there a part of the program where parents can help teach their children about conflict? Because a lot of the bullying that we've seen over the last couple of years is because our children don't know how to handle conflict. And they don't know how to communicate socially with one another without going to the level like what you were saying, calling a name, going out of that, especially when they know the situation is not true. So I think that is just a key point, and I was just wondering, a key part of it, because you were landing on that a minute ago, and I was wondering, because that's a key part about adults. We don't talk to our kids a lot about how to handle conflict constructively.
Right, and yes, inside of the advocate training, we actually teach the parents what is a normal conflict and what is bullying. And then on the end of the training, we teach them what a peer advocate is and what an adult advocate is, so that they can actually teach their children how to be peer advocates to bully. Yes, sir.
Just one quick question.
Go ahead.
If there's a stat, what percentage of parents are being bullied by their own kids?
You know what? I would love to pull that statistic, but they don't actually count that one.
Okay.
But that's one that I would definitely start counting down.
Okay.
Yes, because there are parents that have no idea, because they've had their child at 16, and their child is now 16, and they're 32, and they're still living in 16.
Right.
Because they never had a chance to grow up mentally. So that child has now all the technology at their fingertips. They have all the knowledge that they feel like they need from their parent that had their child at 16. So they feel like it's okay to actually be negative with their parent, or strike their parent, or think it's okay because they've seen it on TV or they've seen it on the video. But you know, I grew up on a farm, okay? So it was a totally different story. You couldn't even, she knew when you were thinking about any kind of negativity. And that's what we need to reinforce with our parents, the self-confidence to be able to raise their children without thinking that their child is going to retaliate at a different time. The thing that I tell the youth, which I don't really talk to the youth as much as I talk to adults, is that you can only control your action. You can't control how somebody reacts. You can only control your reaction. You cannot control how somebody else is going to act to you. It's vice versa. So as long as you're walking a straight path, if somebody gets in your way, you can just veer around them and keep going. It's like a pebble in your shoe. Stop, get it out, and keep on moving. Yes.
I also want to say too, peer pressure,
Yes.
social acceptance is strong in health. Understand?
Ooh, man.
It's stronger than crack. Because kids, and I'm looking at it from the perspective of a kid that's being bullied. You're in a situation where you're not gonna tell mom. Most kids won't even tell mom. That's how, because they worried about it. If mama go tell, it's gonna make me look a certain way, and I gotta go to school every day. Mama, you at work, and so I don't want to deal with this. You know, so and a kid, you said 10% drop out. What percentage commit suicide?
160,000.
Bullying is the mother of all problems. Gangs, drugs, dropout. That bullying is the mother. That's where it started. It started with bullying. And let me just plug special before I got the mic. Plug there special. See, I'm gonna tell you, this why a program like the Urban Specialist partnered with Stop the Madness is a good deal, because the Urban Specialist job, our job in school, is to identify, prevent bullying and situations like that. See, because it's a difference. See, when you got somebody who understands, who equipped in them schools, they the bully. They can be the bully to stop the bully. Yeah, that's the difference. See, it's hard for a kid to bully somebody knowing that you got a Vito, or you got a Kevin, or you got an Abdul in the school who ain't scared, who will say don't do that.
Right.
That's the important part of dealing with bullying, because kids may not report it to mom. But if I'm keen and I'm paying attention, I work at these schools, I'm in these neighborhoods, anytime I see a kid being bullied, I'm gonna stop that. And I'm gonna confront the bully. And so that ends that stopping, and kids love that. Our kids love us because we allow them to be kids without the threat of having to face the bully. That's why they love it, the Urban Specialist.
So they choose, but not only that, my daughter got teased because her khaki pants weren't Dickies. And her shirt didn't come from Forever 21 or Aeropostale or the House of Black and White or whatever the store was, because her shirts didn't come from there and her pants didn't come from there. She got teased. So let me tell you why Stopping the Madness actually exists. Because see, I didn't create this program. My husband didn't create this program. My children didn't help me create this program because we just wanted to put it out there and tell everybody what to do about bullying. My daughter is 18 now. And when she was in 5th grade, we moved from DISD to Garland ISD. So she went from wearing blue shirts to having to wear white and red shirts and khakis and blue pants, whatever. But she didn't wear makeup because in my family, you don't wear makeup until you get a certain age. I'm old school, so you're not gonna do that. But her friends wore makeup. So because even though their uniforms look the same, their faces didn't. So that started it. Oh, you don't wear makeup? Oh, girl, you don't look good, you ain't cute. Oh, you think you cute there because you ain't got makeup on? That started bullying in 5th grade. So me addressing it with the parent of the child, because she wasn't, how can I say, she wasn't African American. And she didn't appreciate me telling her that her daughter looked like she was 17 instead of 11. And she needed to pull back up off my child. So it continued into the 6th grade, to the point where this little girl felt like she was the queen bee, and she bullied my daughter so bad that my daughter started to want to stay home. Her hygiene fell off. We can't have that in mind. And she just started to become withdrawn. And the first time I took her to a psychologist to get through it, they removed her from me for 3 to 5 days to put her in Green Oaks because she had a breakdown because she had been bullied so bad and her self-esteem was so low that if she had not been a Christian, she would have took her own life. But that's not where Stopping the Madness actually started, because I addressed it with the school. But the school had no idea how to handle it. So they just pulled all these kids in that she had named off and said, oh, you want to hold because you bullied her. And they named her name. So when she got back to school, she was in for retaliation. So what did she turned into the bully. and I had to go to the school every day. And I work for the state, I can't be out of work like that. Well, I used to. Then my son came along, Andrew. That's where Stop and Madness started. When Andrew was in the 6th grade, which was only 2 years ago, he had to have a colonoscopy and a polypectomy because he was so stressed out from being bullied that the acids in his intestinal tract built up so badly that he couldn't go to school for 6 weeks, and then he had to have his surgery in order to go back. So believe me, when I was there at the school, and the principal, my daughter is still, she's in 7th grade, and he saw this year, and he said, is that the last one? Yes, she's the last one, and you better treat her right all the way until she steps foot up out of here in the 8th grade. Can I move her? Yes. Could I have moved him? Yes. But the problem would not have ended there, because there's a problem with the adults in addressing bullying. So that's why Stop the Madness exists. That's why we're here today, so that we can actually get a handle on our kids and teach them respect from this to this, instead of waiting till they get here and saying, oh, you know what? They ain't worth nothing, don't lock them up. We have to put it there. I'm gonna get Bruce, now I'm gonna get Terry.
Okay, I just want to quickly add on to the Jordan question. And I think the real question there is how do we teach our kids self-love and value? How do we teach our kids to value themselves? Because when you look at the Jordan question, do I want all the things that everybody else has, it's a question of being compensated to feel a certain way. Because sometimes where you feel like my identity, my worth is tied into these things. And I know for me, just for me, my son and my daughter, and I can afford to buy them Jordan, they don't get that. And I teach them about having self-worth that's not tied into tangible things. I teach them that. My daughter is frugal. She's frugal. She way more frugal than me. You know, if I gave her Jordan money, she gonna come back with 3 pair of shoes. You know, that's how she think. Or she gonna put it up. But that comes. I'm not gonna say that.